Good afternoon, Eagles. Today's story, When Pigasso Met Mootisse by Nina Layden. I know this is one of your favorites. When Pigasso Met Mootisse. There once was a young pig named Pigasso. While the other piglets rolled in the mud and played games, Pigasso painted. He painted anything and everything and in the most unusual way. At the same time, there was once a young bull named Mootisse. Mootisse was not like the other bulls. He wasn't interested in bullfighting. Mootisse was happy only when he painted pictures, and he painted big, bold, bright pictures. In time, word of Picasso's talents spread throughout the pig provinces. Soon, art-loving pigs from all over lined up to buy his creations. At the same time, Mootisse was getting famous in the cattle community. There weren't many households that didn't own a moosterpiece. Picasso and Mootisse were becoming art superstars, but this came with a price. Everybody wanted to see them. Art buyers, art sellers, art students, art historians, art groupies. It was an art attack. And one day, Picasso got fed up and said, "I am tired of this noisy pig pen." And at the same time, Mootisse declared, "I am sick of this crowded cow town." Oh, needing a change, they both decided to look for a peaceful place where they could paint without distraction. They are fed up. So each of the two artists looked far and wide for the perfect spot. Picasso found a lovely farm looking towards the east. Mootisse found a handsome farm facing the west. And after Picasso moved in, he went to introduce himself to his new neighbor across the road. At the same time, Mootisse went to introduce himself to his new neighbor across the road. And that is how Picasso met Mootisse. And coincidentally, that is how Mootisse met Picasso. Can you recognize which house is Mootisse's? You see the cutouts? At first, Picasso and Mootisse were friendly and welcomed each other as neighbors, but soon things began to change. It started one day when Picasso criticized one of Mootisse's paintings. Then Mootisse made fun of one of Picasso's. Mootisse called Picasso an art hog. Then Picasso called Mootisse a mad cow. Mootisse quipped, "You paint like a 2-year-old, and Picasso retorted, "You paint like a wild beast." Mootisse raged, "Your colors look like mud." Picasso spat, "Your paintings look like color by numbers." And things got really out of hand. Oh my goodness. Is this a good way to deal with an argument? Well, I don't think so either. It was a modern art mess. Oh my goodness. Picasso stormed off into his house. "That Mootisse doesn't like my art," he huffed. "Well, I will show him." And Mootisse bullied his way into his house. "I will give that Picasso something he can really criticize," he snorted. And then a full-scale feud erupted. But it was a most unusual battle. Armed with ladders and buckets of paint, Mootisse launched the first attack. He started at dawn. By the end of the evening, he had succeeded in transforming the outside of his house into a monster-sized moosterpiece. What do you think? Not to be outdone, Picasso fired up his paintbrushes and, in full view of the enemy, counterattacked. He turned his farm into a huge and outrageous pork of art. The two artists then retreated into their houses and pulled down the shades. Picasso certainly didn't want to look out his window and stare at Mootisse. And Mootisse had no desire to give his rooms a view of a Picasso. What do you think? This presented a problem, and there seemed to be only one solution. Without a word to each other, Picasso and Mootisse each began to build a huge wooden fence down the middle of their road. At first, Picasso and Mootisse seemed satisfied. Both artists went back to painting by themselves. But after a while, Picasso was surprised to find that he missed that bull-headed Mootisse. And at the same time, Mootisse found his studio empty without the presence of pig-headed Picasso. They're missing each other. Picasso pondered. Oh, that Mootisse isn't such a bad artist. He has some interesting ideas. Mootisse moaned. That Picasso may not paint like me, but he knows what he's doing. However, being naturally pig-headed and bull-headed, neither artist knew how to apologize to the other. So they did what they do best. They let their paintbrushes do the talking. Picasso painted on one side of the fence, and Mootisse painted on the other. Each worked until they were exhausted. It was strangely quiet when they were done. Then, curious to see what Mootisse had been doing, Picasso sprinted around to the other side. At the same time, Mootisse galloped over to Picasso's side. The silence was broken as the two artists began laughing at their amazing work of heart. The work came from their hearts. From that day on, Picasso and Mootisse became great friends. They happily took down the fence and shared their different views, and a few months later, a big museum bought the fence. Picasso called his side when Picasso met Mootisse, and Mootisse called his side when Mootisse met Picasso. What do you think of it? The critics called it incredible. I liked it. The end. I hope you enjoyed that story. Until our next afternoon story time. Bye-bye, Eagles.